New data showing home prices have reached record highs in more than half of the major markets. That's according to research out today from the real estate fintech company Blikre. It found that prices are still rising, but at a slightly slower pace compared to previous months. Now, it's a boost to homeowner equity levels, but as mortgage rates near 7% on average, many are holding on to homes for longer, causing an inventory crunch in the market. Here to discuss further is the Vice President of Blikre's Equity Research, Andy Walden. Andy, thanks so much for joining us today. All right, let's dive right into some of your numbers that you all produced in your report. We're seeing that prices have peaked in or reached new heights in 30 of the 50 largest markets. Where are we seeing the largest increases?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it's Midwest and Northeastern markets. It's markets that didn't cool down quite as much last year. They're more comparatively affordable. They have deeper inventory deficits. So that's where you're seeing the markets that are the furthest up is kind of that Midwest and certainly Northeast, kind of centered around Connecticut. And then the areas that are the furthest down, certainly Austin, Texas is really the one market that's still in a very corrective type environment. And really across the Western U.S., they're down from last year.
Andy, could you just kind of outline what an unusual circumstance we find ourselves in for the U.S. housing market? According to your own notes, affordability is the worst it's been in 37 years, but we have very low delinquency levels because people are locked in at lower rates. I'm just wondering if there's a canary in the coal mine when we think about what happened with the global financial crisis. Back then, we had people with multiple properties, and they were using their houses as ATMs. Anything like that going on today?
It's not, right? When you look at home affordability, it's very similar to where it was in 2005, 2006. And so certainly that catches your eye. And as we all know, we have significant affordability challenges out there in the market. In terms of risk of mortgage performance, significantly less risk than there was last time around, not only because of the quality of mortgages out there in the market, but because of the lack of that adjustable rate activity out there in the market as well. In 2006, you had a quarter of the mortgage market that was made up of adjustable rate loans. Today, it's 5%, and very little reset activity set to take place over the next few months. And the 10.5 million folks that took out rate term refis are still benefiting from those low rates right now. And so mortgage is really affordable for folks that took them out prior to 2022. Little different story for folks that are shopping for them today.
And I got to ask you, Andy, some of your research showed that the number of underwater homeowners, to Jared's point, it's on the rise. Obviously not nowhere near the levels that we saw during the financial crisis and that housing bubble that we saw. Is there any potential for this to go much higher and there to potentially be a housing bubble, or is really just the inventory is not there, so it can't happen now?
Yeah, is there the potential? Absolutely, there is, right? There's a lot of downward pressure on price from the lack of affordability. As you mentioned, inventory holding those prices high. So when you look at underwater mortgage holders, there's only about 0.65%, about 344,000. Now, there's two ways to look at that. One is, hey, it's up 70% year over year. That's concerning. The other way to look at it is it's still historically very, very low. We still have less than 4% of mortgage holders that have less than 10% equity in their home. They're even close to underwater. So still very strong from a historical perspective. And the needle is moving in the right direction, given how firm and even strong prices have been so far this year.
And I think it's fair to characterize overall, this is a seller's market, but this is a very big country that we live in. There's a lot of disparate regions within the U.S. And are there any places where one might find a bargain, if we can even use that word in this market?
Yeah, probably not. A bargain probably isn't the right word, right? But there are some more affordable areas of the country, right? Everyone is less affordable. If you look at the 100 largest markets in the U.S., everybody's less affordable than their long-run averages. But when you look at places that are a little bit closer, it's your Midwest, it's your Ohio, you've got some heat in Connecticut, right? So it's some of those Midwestern markets that aren't quite as volatile, that didn't see that massive run up in prices or as big of a run up in prices in 2020, 21, 22, that are more affordable today that maybe you could, I don't think I would even use the word snatch a deal, but get closer to that, right? Get a little bit more balanced in your efforts there.
Andy, I love the shout out to my home state. I'm originally from Ohio, actually. So shout out to Ohio. And to your point, for instance, the home my sister lives in, it would be a shoebox here in New York for that same price. And Jared made the point about it being a seller's market. But is it really, when you think about it? Because if a seller puts their home on the market, they have to go and try to find a new home. And with affordability where it is, that challenge, I mean, how do you resolve this pickle if it's not a seller's market and it's not a buyer's market? And I've asked this to one of our guests recently. Who is winning here?
I think the answer is nobody, right? Nobody's winning right now. I mean, it is a seller's market by the numbers. If you look at months of inventory out there, it's 2.9 months. It's firmly in the seller's camp. But you're right, it's not a sell and rebuyer's market, because you can get the price you want on the sale of your home, but then you're having to go out there, give up your low rate, and compete at higher interest rates and higher prices. And so really, I mean, to your point, there are no winners in today's market, right? It's a challenging market for folks trying to relocate, certainly a challenging market for folks trying to enter in. I think the winners are existing homeowners, right? We talked about equity getting back to near record levels. I think those are the folks that, have locked in those low payments, have locked in a low purchase price, that are seeing the benefits of those low rates in their equity grow. I think those are the winners in today's market.
And if we think about the current 30-year mortgage rate, how much does that need to go up to create some real hiccups in the market, finally seeing some people completely priced out? Or on the flip side, what if it goes down? Is there any threshold that just opens the market up in the other direction?
Yeah, it's a really good question. If you see interest rates go up, the problem is it's a double-edged sword, right? So certainly it prices folks out, but it locks folks more into their existing homes as well. So you're reducing demand, but you're also reducing supply at the same time. And we're already seeing that with interest rates at 7% right now, which is why the Fed is having a challenging time bringing affordability back into whack, because they're reducing demand, but at the same time they're reducing supply, and it's just kind of locking the market up. In terms of when do we start to see the market unlock on the way down? I think you would see demand come back kind of gradually on the way down. And even when we've seen interest rates get down into the 6.5% to 6% interest rate at points in time, you'll see borrowers return to the market. My question is, when do sellers return? Because we haven't seen that. Even when interest rates have begun to ease a little bit, we haven't seen those sellers dip their toes back into the market. And that's the more concerning part for me.
Yeah, that makes sense, Andy, especially when we consider what the Fed may do at its next meeting. And if we continue to see them on the path where they are, as much as some people expect them to kind of hold the line, they've said it's a data-dependent Fed. So we'll see. We'll see what happens if we actually have answers to these questions. All right. Andy Walden, Vice President of Black Knight's Equity Research. Thank you so much for joining us today.